Do you love thrill? Do you love action? Do you love mystery? Then get ready for this episode of Niffty. The year is 1960. The place is Edwards Air Force Base in California. The mission is top secret. A mysterious object has been discovered under the sea near the base, and the government wants to find out what it is. Enter Mike Nelson, a Navy frogman and demolitions expert who's been recruited for the job. What he doesn't know is that he is about to become part of one of the most bizarre and dangerous underwater adventures of all time. But before we dive into this underwater mystery, let me tell you about today's sponsor. The best way to keep your online activity private is by using a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. A VPN hides your IP address and encrypts your data so that even if someone hacks into the network, they won't be able to see anything personal about you, like your name or where you live. Plus, you can access blocked content from other countries just by changing your virtual location with the click of a button. Alright, let's get back to the video. Mike and his team have been given only one clue to go off of, an aerial photograph that shows a dark, cigar-shaped object lying on the seabed. But there are two major problems with this photo. First, it's grainy and unclear. Second, it could be a hoax. But with no other leads, this is all the government has to go on. So Mike and his men suit up in their diving gear and head out to the Pacific Ocean to search for the mysterious object. As they descend into the murky depths, they encounter huge schools of fish, strange sea creatures, and sunken ships. But they find no sign of the object. Just when they're about to give up, Mike spots something in the distance. It looks like a long, dark shadow against the sandy bottom. Could this be it? As they get closer, they realize it's not a shadow. It's a real object, but it's bigger than they expected. What they found was a strange metallic structure that looked like a giant needle or a pill. It was about 47 meters long and almost 3 meters wide at its center, tapering to a point at each end. It had no windows, no doors, no markings, and no obvious way of entry. To make matters worse, the water was freezing cold and their air tanks were running low. So Mike and his team had to retreat without any answers. Back at the base, the object became known as NACA, which stood for National Aircraft and Missile Observation Center. Even though no one knew what it was, the government decided to retrieve it. So they called in some heavy machinery and lifted the object onto a barge. They then transported it to a remote location in Yuma, Arizona for further analysis. But as soon as they moved it, strange things started happening. People who came into contact with the object experienced strange symptoms like headaches, nausea, fatigue, insomnia, memory loss, and even cancer. Some people even claimed that they saw strange lights and heard strange sounds coming from inside the object. Was it haunted? Was it radioactive? Was it alien? One day, one of the workers who was cleaning the outside of the object with a high-pressure hose noticed a small hole near one of the tapered ends. He assumed it was a ventilation shaft and decided to check it out. He inserted a camera with a flashlight attached to it and peered inside. What he saw was a dark, narrow tunnel that seemed to go on forever. The government wanted to keep this mission classified, but word got out and people started panicking. They thought that the government was hiding something from them, perhaps a crashed UFO or a secret weapon. The truth was much stranger than fiction. The object turned out to be a secret project from World War II that had been forgotten about until now. During the war, the US military had been experimenting with new ways to deliver objects underwater. They had developed a torpedo-like device that could be launched from submarines and travel long distances without being detected. But the project was canceled when the war ended, and the device was never recovered. Now, 20 years later, it had resurfaced quite literally. The object was made of a special alloy that was resistant to corrosion and had a nuclear reactor at its core that produced a powerful magnetic field. This is what caused the strange readings on the radar and sonar, leading people to believe that it was an alien spacecraft. The strange symptoms experienced by the workers were likely due to the radiation from the reactor, which was still active but very weak. The sounds and lights were probably caused by electromagnetic interference from the device's systems. It was a relief to know that it wasn't a UFO, but the government still didn't want to reveal what it was. They were afraid that it would cause panic or that someone might try to steal the technology. So they gave the object a false identity and moved it to a different location. This is where Mike's story comes in. Now that the object was moved, someone had to explain how it got there. And who better to do that than a Navy frogman who had nothing to do with the whole thing? Mike was told that he had found a lost piece of military equipment and that he should keep quiet about it. So he did what any reasonable person would do. He wrote a story about it and published it in a magazine. Of course, the government was furious, but they couldn't deny the truth. So they revealed what it was and gave Mike credit for finding it. In reality, Mike wasn't the first to find it. There had been several reports of the object before, but they were all ignored or dismissed as hoaxes. For example, there was a sailor who claimed to have seen it during a training exercise in 1951, but no one believed him. There was also a fisherman who claimed to have seen it while fishing off the coast of San Diego in 1955, but he was arrested for drunk and disorderly conduct, and his story was forgotten. Perhaps the most credible sighting was by a pilot who spotted it while flying over the Pacific in 1959. He reported it to the authorities, but they thought he was crazy. If only they had listened to him, maybe they would have found the object sooner and prevented all the trouble it caused. As for the object itself, it was eventually identified as a type of subatomic missile that had been tested in the 1940s and 50s. These missiles were designed to carry nuclear warheads and were capable of traveling underwater for long distances without being detected. But the technology was too advanced for the time, and it was never deployed in actual combat. After the Cold War ended, more secrets from the past started to emerge. In the 1990s, more documents and testimonies revealed the true nature of the object and its connection to the secret weapons program. These revelations caused a sensation and renewed interest in the case. Some people still believe that it was an alien spacecraft and that the government is hiding evidence of extraterrestrial life. Today, the object is on display at a museum in Arizona, along with other artifacts from the secret weapons program. It is a reminder of a time when science and technology were used to develop powerful weapons that could change the world. It is also a testament to the power of secrecy and the lengths to which governments will go to protect their secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe for more updates. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.